I'm Linda Bennett, your spiritual counselor for Metaphysically Speaking. And so Lucifer, being an archangel, cannot be a demon. Also, the expression the Catholics use, the Archangel Michael, Saint Archangel Michael, is oxymoronic. It can't possibly be. A saint is a human. And whether it's a Hindu saint or a Jewish saint or a Catholic saint, it doesn't matter. That is somebody who has reached a certain pinnacle of spiritual enlightenment and whose energy spreads and helps others, whether they're in the physical body or whether they're out. So one I am not voting for is Teresa, Sister Teresa, the one in India who kept collecting millions and millions of dollars and still had no blankets and no towels. Everything was going to the Vatican instead of helping the local people. And she was watching dead people fall down around her. And she did nothing about birth control. She did nothing about sanitary conditions, nothing. So I hope they let that die off because Teresa doesn't deserve a thing. And I say that loving little flower St. Teresa because I was always close to her as a little girl. And she is on my altar. Your altar can be any space that you set up for yourself, you and God, and your guardian angels, and any other angels that you love, and any other beings, whether it's Mary, mother of Jesus, or Mary of Magdala, Jesus's wife, or Jesus, or his poor father who always gets left out. It's interesting that Catholics like to say Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, but they keep forgetting the Father. They keep forgetting Joseph, who was a very wealthy businessman, but we've talked about that on the Christmas show. Jesus did not come from a poor family schlepping along in the mud, which there isn't any mud in, the Middle East, in the sand. So be careful what you believe. And if you want to read your Bible, read it and understand the words between the words and understand that a lot of it is fairy tale because they were looking to drum up a new religion. The Old Testament is interesting because there are contradictions on the first 2 pages. What do you mean, Linda? Well, man and woman created at the same time on the first page. And you flip it over and then they talk about God taking Adam's rib and making clay and making a woman. Twaddle. That was a reflection of the Jewish mentality towards women. And in the Orthodox religion, it's still the same thing. So nothing has changed in 3,000 years. As far as I'm concerned, nothing has changed much anywhere. But that's another show. So let's understand that Lucifer is an archangel. He's the principal that nobody likes when you're a kid at school, who's trying to teach humans to overcome illusion and delusion. Because if you let yourself fooled by illusion, you are going to be deluded. And a good reference point would be the people who think there's not enough science with the vaccine and people aren't really dying. Well, there are a lot of families out there who will tell you how many people they've lost in their families. And with the long haul thing, which is getting a lot of publicity now, by the way, one of the sad things is extraordinary depression and suicides. So if you have COVID long haul, and if your doctor doesn't believe you, I was reading in Time magazine where one woman was told by her doctor, just lose some weight, get better nutrition, you'll be fine. Well, she's not fine. She found a doctor who believed her and altered her diet, added some supplements, and has been treating her, and she's doing much better. Long haul COVID, we don't know what the end result is going to be. We don't know if that's going to make you more susceptible to new viruses coming along. We got no clue. We're in the dark here. Just like they were in the dark in the plague, not realizing it came from fleas off the rats that were running around all over the place. So let's talk about the difference between bad and evil, because people use them interchangeably. And there is a gigantic difference. Bad is confusion and delusion. That's what the anti-vaxxers, including Fox Network, has been promoting. And there was a woman on the doctors last night who says, well, there's not enough science. I'm sorry. There has been 20 years of research on the RNA factor. 20 years. And she's too stupid to figure that out herself by looking at the millions of records and by watching the proper talk shows where the doctors come on and explain the research they've done. So confusion equals desperation because people don't know what to do. And if you're not a scientific person or someone who's interested in science, get interested with COVID because the Omicron variant, although is more easily caught and it doesn't have the same intense symptoms as COVID, seems to be responsible for a lot of, not all, but a lot of the long-term effects. So go on the NIH website, National Institute of Health. Talk to your doctor. If you have an idiot for a doctor, get rid of that doctor. I had an idiot and I'm still aggravated over it because I'm still paying for it. Fortunately, I have not had COVID. I had my shots and my booster. And we've been very careful in this house. Everywhere we go, we do the masking. We have very few people coming to the house and they do the masking. So be careful what you are and are not interested in and what you do when you don't believe. Are you going to believe Fox Network? Or are you going to believe worldwide scientists? You can go on the British National Health System website. You can go on the Spanish website. They'll all say the same thing. All of the discoveries around the world have had the same results. So get your vaccines. It's not too late. Get tested to make sure you haven't had silent COVID. It means you have no symptoms, but you're a carrier. And then if you're a carrier, have everybody in your family you've been in contact with. Okay. Evil is the absence of God. By that, I mean there's no kind thing around you. There is absolutely nothing but darkness and dreariness and dark gray and charcoal and not silver. I'm wearing beautiful pearls tonight that are pink pearls but have a silver overtone. And these were a lovely gift from a dear friend and her husband, and I thank her for it. And not the silver. It is not the silver color. It is the dull gray color. Just dreary. There's not even a beginning of a smile. There's nothing in the mind that can bring you joy. You can't even think of a daisy. You can't think of a robin or a cardinal or a little duck. You can't think of a pussycat or a puppy dog. You can't think of, if you had sweet children, you can't think of sweet children. If you had a great spouse, it doesn't even come in your mind. It can't. It's completely blocked out because you're in the evil vibration. And that is extremely difficult to extricate yourself. And I mean, remove yourself like you're stuck there in a pile of glue or a pile of tar. Once you enter that evil realm, it's very difficult to get out. And how do you enter it? By being in the bad zone for a long time. And you will be put in an area that's suitable for you. You won't be where Hitler is and where Putin is going.
You mean when you die?
When you die, yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you for clarifying that. That's my executive producer. You may have lots of fun now, and Putin's got billions of dollars that he's enjoying in his villas and girlfriends and all this other stuff. I don't care about him as a person because I see him as an evil monstrosity. I see him as a demon. And since demons come from evil, They don't have any souls, which is pointed out in the show called Lucifer on Netflix. And why is that? Didn't God make everything? Well, no, God didn't make this. I'll cover it once before because somebody told me last week it wasn't clear. When there is enough bad, think of leaves falling. In the fall, they start to get drier and they start getting a little colorful because the green is draining out of, the chlorophyll is draining out of the leaf. And that is what we would call bad for this conversation. It's good for the tree because the tree gets a chance to rest all winter and make better, newer, healthier leaves in the spring. But for this conversation, and then the leaves begin to dry up. The more bad you do, the more you dry up. The more your soul is so repelled, it squeezes out of the body and sort of hangs in and hangs out at the same time. Your guardian angels are so repelled and trying desperately to influence you with maybe something happy and maybe something funny and maybe something joyful. And you're just not used to responding to it anymore. And you become so detached from the possibilities of being happy. And meanwhile, you've attracted other people around you, like alcoholics do. They don't want to hang out with a group of people who don't drink. We don't drink in this family. We don't have friends who drink. And guess what? We're not flooded by people who want to drink because it carries a vibration. It's like an energy grid around you of goodness, of light. We don't do drugs. We don't smoke. We don't gamble. We don't do sexual favor people. These are things that are negative to the soul. The people who are becoming browner and browner and crumblier and fall to the ground and just disintegrate. So when enough of that has happened, when there are enough dead leaves off the tree, it's being attracted to another place. And that place is where evil is. And thousands upon thousands of years ago, maybe millions, it began to form into something. Something that could think, because every time a leaf dies, it brings with it the memory. Just like for us, muscles and nerves have memory. That's why, like if you whack your leg or something, you think, oh, I did that when I was a kid. Oh, I hit myself on the filing cabinet. Oh, whatever. But you have memory because that muscle triggers that memory. So each dead leaf that's brought to the evil vibration area attaches itself to this form that has been created and has just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And in its ego, it thinks it's going to run the world and it's going to run the solar system and it's going to run the galaxy and it's going to run the universe. But it's not going to. Now you're going to say, well, why doesn't God do something about it? Well, God didn't create it. We all created it in other lifetimes. Some people in this lifetime. All the anti-vaxxers are lots of dead leaves around them. I didn't see anti-vaxxers when the polio vaccine was going on, when people were just falling down, when people were just flopping over and couldn't move and had to be on rotating tables, had to be on these big machines that would help them breathe. If you're not old enough, you don't remember this. When I was a little girl, the school system did a program where half of the kids got the placebo and the other half, I was in the other half, got the vaccine. And then several years later, They repeated the test with the improved vaccine, got the vaccine again. Never had polio. But many of the kids that got the placebo, the parents were notified afterwards, a certain time period. And so they wouldn't try to get the vaccine themselves and mess up the test because they had to make sure as they could be, this was going to work. So to be anti-science is very foolish. And yes, information is changing about the vaccines. That's because it's changing around the world. It's mutating. It's getting smarter. It's getting dumber. It's getting more invigorated. It's getting more tired. And by the way, I wouldn't tell you anything that I wouldn't do. I got the vaccines and the booster. I'm recommending it for you. Because every time you deny truth, you're feeding that evil globby thingy. That you can call a super demon. That you can call, the Catholics called it Satan. That you can call the evil force, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. But that thing does not have a God soul. So it will be ultimately destroyed. And the beings it has made, called demons, we call them demons, they have no soul either. They're created specifically to cause trouble, to cause damage, to cause hatred, confusion, death, war, the need for more. Greed is one of the worst, the 7 deadly sins. Sloth is another one. That's lazy, sitting around doing nothing, thinking of nothing, not meditating, not putting positive energy. I'm not talking about nuns and priests who are, what do they call it, when they're all by themselves? They're secluded and they don't see the outside world. And they, even in Nepal and Bhutan and Tibet, they have monks and nuns that go strictly into the mountains and meditate. That's all they do. They meditate for world peace. They meditate for the world to be filled with God light, which we're going to be talking about at the end of the show. I have notes here because I never use notes. I just figure out the topic. But I was off balance last time because I have so much to talk about. And my lectures used to be 2 and 3 hours long, especially the one I did on UFOs. A couple of guys fell asleep in the back and they woke up and they went, "Oh, Linda, it's not that you're not interesting. I was up at 5. So that was okay. But I had opportunities at that time to be able to explain things fully. So I'm gazing at these notes to see how I'm doing. Now, one of the things that these evil entities do, these demons do, is something called possession. Or some religions call it you have a curse on you, or there's a curse inside you, or you've been cursed. Well, first of all, it's very difficult for curses to actually be effective because most people don't know how to put them. And even if you're the best curse maker, and that's not saying you're an SOB or MF, whatever, that is saying, may your first 7 sons die for the next 100 generations. May your crops rot for the next 10 generations. That's a curse. But the person has to have the power within them to place the curse. And the person receiving it has to be karmically open to receiving it. So in other words, either in this lifetime or in other lifetimes, you participated in evil. Could be black magic. It could be participating in a ceremony that drew blood. I don't care if you cut your hand. I don't care what you do. If you remember Harry Potter, when Professor Dumbledore, the third one where he dies, Professor Dumbledore and Harry are in this cave and he slices his hand and Harry says, "No, we can't." So he says, "No, dark magic requires this. And we can't get in to the inside workings to see where this but one of the important Horcruxes is." And even Dumbledore knows that's not the thing to do, but he's at the end of his life and he knows it. Harry doesn't know it. But Harry is appalled that he would cut himself. You never sacrifice a living thing for God. You can cut a daisy, you can cut a rose, you can cut a leaf and bring it to your altar. You cannot bring a dead animal. You cannot cut yourself. You cannot cut an animal. You can't chop its head off. You can't poke it and make it bleed. Never. What is a living God going to do with a dead animal? Not a thing. God is about spiritual life and honoring the vehicle you've been put into to be able to express that life, that spiritual life. If you're on a physical planet, you have to be in a physical body, or you'll just be this voice floating around and nobody will listen to you. You never cut anything. You never hurt anything. You never destroy anything. You never dig up the plant. Just trim a flower, bring it in. That's all you need to do. If you've ever used the Ouija board, now the Ouija board people are familiar with this, so they're not going to be running around suing me because too many times, the Ouija board was not created with evil intentions, but it is a lower vibration vehicle for evil to sneak in without even tapping on the window. Many years ago when we were kids, my cousins got a Ouija board out and I didn't like it. I didn't like the box. I just had this creepy feeling about it. And they knew I could see things. So they started needling me. I said, do whatever you want to do. I'm not involved. So I watched them. And all of a sudden it was like, whoosh. This windless wind came in. And I said, okay, everybody, put it away. No, we're having a good time. I said, you think you're having a good time. We're not having a good time. There is an evil presence here. And all of a sudden, the planchette started moving all around. And I said, put the damn thing away. And they got scared, and they did. Rarely. And it's not worth using to get the rarely positive influence or positive answer or negative answer. Not worth it. Get it another way. Go to somebody who has psychic ability, whether you go to me or 10 other people who have good psychic ability and can see for you. Everybody's abilities are different. Some people work just with animals. Some people work just with people. Some people work for the FBI and the CIA and the weather people. I take an Excedrin every time I sense that the barometric pressure is going to start to change. And my friend Patty years ago pointed out that every time I get one of these violent, instant crushing headaches, at that time or slightly before or slightly after, there's either an earthquake or a volcano. So I used to call them my earthquake headaches. I finally begged God one night, stop already with the earthquake headaches unless you're going to give me the location and the time. Not a week from now, not a year from now, but a legitimate time frame so I can call the FBI and tell them. The FBI attempted to recruit me years ago, by the way. I said no. Then it was a Secret Service. CIA, I said no. I just had a bad feeling about the whole projects, all of the projects they were working on, and how I would be treated. And the hours. And now that information is coming out, they were merciless with those of us who would have participated and those people who did participate. So I was right in denying that. So karma is the law of cause and effect. In the Bible, it says you reap what you sow. What goes around comes around. Every religion, including Catholicism, understands it and talks about it. If you're a Jesuit, and I studied with a Jesuit who left before he took his final vows because he said the church is too corrupt. He said that with tears in his eyes. We weren't at church, we were at a restaurant, and a whole bunch of us around and the family and whatever. And he said, it broke my heart because I went in there to work with kids to help them understand God and Jesus. I said, there's more to God than Jesus. He said, I know. He said, but that's what we were supposed to teach. And he said, I just got to the point where I discovered too much. I think he was also talking about child abuse because my 2 boy cousins were abused by Catholic priests. St. Camilla's, Rockaway Beach, not there anymore. St. Camilla's. So karma is law of cause and effect. It sets up in each lifetime what you're going to be doing in your next lifetime. That's what a properly drawn astrology chart is all about. It tells you where you've been, where you are, where you're going, and what you need to do to make next lifetime better. So you have to have the karma of having a curse placed on you. You also may have what we call company. That means there's a negative spirit or an evil spirit following you around. It's not inside your body. You're not possessed. But it's like a cloud you can't get away from, or like a weight, or a thing that's irritating you. You keep turning around and look, what the heck is that? You've got negative company. If it's happy company, if it's an angel, you won't even know it's there. And you will feel more cheerful with an angel presence. Now, possession is different. That is when you have a demonic spirit enter your body. That's why mediumship can be very dangerous. True mediumship. Mediumship is when a soul enters your body, and it can be your great Aunt Gertrude, it can be Arthur Conan Doyle, it can be 100 different people. If you're a medium and you're checked out by, England has a medium society, and you're checked out by them to see whether or not they put you through a battery of tests and psychics, you could be possessed. If you can be possessed, you cannot be certified as a medium. They don't want any harm to come to you or anybody else. So a regular spirit will come in and talk to you. And that's not where I was invited as a guest lecturer at a very nice non-sectarian church in St. Petersburg, Florida. I was supposed to talk for 10 minutes. They said, no, stay. And the minister said, have at it, Linda. So it was a really lovely experience. But then they let the little elderly ladies stand up. Oh, there are flowers around you. Oh, your mother loved you. Your mother hated you. Oh, your mother loved you. Oh, yes, she really did love you. Oh, yeah, I see happy things at your house. Oh, I don't see happy things at your house, but you could make them happy. And maybe one time they were a medium, but they lost their abilities. Maybe they always wanted them. She thought they were kind of harmless. I said they're not harmless because people are believing that stuff. So then shortly after that, she stopped it, which I thought was a really good idea. Anyway, if you have possession, that's a nightmare, literally a nightmare from hell. And you need to take that call for me.
Okay.
That is literally something that if it happens to you, you wish for death. In fact, many people do commit suicide. And you cannot understand how awful it is. You simply can't understand it if it's never happened to you and you don't want it to happen to you. Because it is so overwhelming. Every thought you have is not yours. Whether you sleep, whether you don't sleep. And what they normally do is just run you into the ground so they can get as much use of you as possible. They don't care if you're going to die, you're going to die. And exorcisms are most of the time not effective, like back and neck surgery. Exorcisms, the priest And there are exorcisms in every religion, by the way, Hindus, Buddhists, Jewish, doesn't matter. But in Catholics, if you don't know, if the spirit didn't know who Jesus was, thank you. That's my executive producer. If the spirit didn't know who Jesus was, it's not effective mentioning Jesus' name. It's not worth your time. So the spirit will go out and sit in a tree or go out and sit on the roof or whatever and wait for the priest or the priestess or the Wiccan or the Buddhist to leave, and then wave goodbye and pop back in. Or pull a trick. Let them have dinner, let them think everything's great, let them take a shower, let them go to bed, and then come back. Pounce. And the person goes flying up in the air, and they know that the spirit, the evil spirit, is back. So understand that evil has no boundaries. The expression, oh, I made a deal with the devil. No, you made a deal with evil, and it'll never be over until you are angelically cleansed. Sometimes you can be cleansed in this physical body, but if you have called in evil, there's a difference between being surprised by it and thinking, oh, okay, and yeah, I need power. I need this country, which is Vladimir Putin. I need this group of people, Jim Jones, the guy down in Guyana who killed all those Americans, and the senator. I think I told you before, that was one of 2 times I ever saw on a live broadcast a black aura around somebody. And I said to my then husband, he's going to die. Oh, stop with that witchy stuff. Except if it was for him, then it was great. And then he was shot and killed down in Guyana. Most of the people they discovered by examination were shot. Many of them did drink the Kool-Aid, literally, but they were also shot because they resisted. So that is demonic. It's extraordinarily difficult to get rid of in one lifetime in a physical body. Usually, and always, you're going to pay it back. Usually, you're going to start paying it back. Say you got rid of it when you were 40. You're going to start paying back the things that you did to other people, maybe at 45. To give you a few years to get your footing and to get the understanding of what you did and the impact that it's caused. And then you begin paying that karma back. And you think, why is this always happening to me? Well, what did you do to those people? What did you do to that farm? What did you do to those cows? What did you do to the horses? What did you do to those dogs? You're paying everyone back. And then when you get to the other side, you're going to your room of hell. You're going to see all those people. And you're going to listen to everything that they went through over and over and over. And the terror and the misery that you caused. Meanwhile, since you're in hell, the demonic forces are there, and they're calling to you in a very gentle voice and saying, we love you. We gave you all this strength. We gave you all the things you asked for. If you have half a brain left, you'll say, yeah, but I didn't have any light. I didn't have any God. What did I have? You had all the things you asked for. All the things we promised you. Yeah, but I couldn't breathe. And I couldn't have relationships. And my health deteriorated. I looked like I was dead. Yes, but we were there for you. We're still here for you now. We haven't deserted you. This whole diabolical dialogue is going on. And it's up to the individual soul to say, I want light. I want flowers. I want joy. I want pussycats and puppy dogs and bunny rabbits. I want to be able to swim in the ocean. I want to be happily married. I want to have children. I want to be a doctor, a nurse, a teacher. I want to teach children. You don't need to be doing that, the demonic forces are saying to you. And they try to woo you back. Understand something. You were created by God. You have the ability to go back home again once you finish up all the messy karma you've created. Where there's joy, where there's light. Where I experienced a small amount of it with my death experiences. I can't tell you, there's no words in any language to describe the amount of love and joy. I can't think of any single word. Beautiful, bountiful, adoring, love, gracious. Those are like lower cap words. There's just no description of the intense amount of love, of the intense amount of joy. So bad is confusion, delusion, and disaster. Evil is the lack of God, is the lack of light, is the lack of kindness, the lack of graciousness, the lack of anything good. Even though it can fool you at times by giving you a good thing that you want, but it's strangled in black hands that you can't see until you start trying to utilize it, or until you've utilized it to a certain point that it says, okay, we want to be paid. We gave you what you wanted, so you have to do what we want. You have a choice. Everyone has a choice every minute of every day. Everyone. Even cats and dogs. If you were abused, you don't abuse others. I had a nightmare childhood. I don't abuse others. I'm not unkind to others. The thing that really gets me is people who were sexually abused as children. That's one thing that I did not go through. And they turn around and they become pedophiles. They abuse other children. And usually you can tell when the age was of that person when they select the age of their victims. If it was 5, if it was 10, that's when they were victimized. Why would you do that to somebody else when it was done to you? You know how painful, you know the memories, you know the nightmares you've gone through. Why would you do that? You're going over to evil. Instead of going over to good with counseling and maybe going to school to study psychology and becoming a better person, you become a nightmare on wheels. If you abused animals, I still can't get out of my head. Years ago, or 20 years ago, they had this little boy crying because his father made him kill a deer. The father smacked him around, shook him, made him kill that deer, and the little boy collapsed in tears. He didn't want to hurt the animal. Never found out what happened to that child. No news report ever followed up on him that I ever saw. Maybe it was local and I don't remember where it was. But a father who wanted his child to kill, that's a screwed up guy. Now, these were not people who lived up in Alaska and had to kill animals to live because you can't grow vegetables. That community is going to have to either wither away and die or come down to the lower places where there are vegetables to eat, because you can't kill every whale because your grandparents did it. Can't kill every dolphin, can't kill every fish, can't kill every lion. If you do, you will be in hell for eons of time. especially when you know what you're doing is wrong. Knowledge is power, power to do good, power to do evil. Knowledge is always power. So you have the choice. Are you going to be in a beam of light? Are you going to be feeling happy on an everyday basis? Are you going to be willing to help other people? I have a wonderful neighbor across the street, Mary, and she's busy telling me how wonderful I am. I'm telling her how wonderful she is. And I said to her the other day, okay, Mary, let's knock it off. You're great. I'm great. Enough already. And she said, that works for me, Linda. So I said, I'm just glad that you're there when my family's not here. And I know that I can call on you if there's something wrong. And she said, I know I can call on you, blah, blah, blah. But she's a lovely person. And I'm so glad to have her as a neighbor. It's so nice to be surrounded by nice people. I have a wonderful family. I'm very lucky. So therefore, that's your choice. Now, you're going to say, okay, Linda, with all this good and evil, what the heck can I do? You can start every single day when you wake up and say, thank you, God, for this day. And if you've got a spouse or a pussycat or a puppy dog, roll over and give them a kiss. Start scratching them, waking them up, because usually they're asleep. And give them kisses and kisses and kisses. What a nice way to start your day. What a wonderful way to start your day. Then do your stretching. I do stretching before I get out of the bed. And get out of the bed and say, thank you, God, for letting me walk, giving me mobility, giving me sanity. Even if you're not too sure about the sanity, giving you sanity. But you can begin your day with a happy outlook. If it snowed outside, great, look how pretty the snow is. If the flowers are blooming, great, look how beautiful the flowers are. And see if you can see the bees buzzing around. You know, not all bees are honeybees or bumblebees. Local bees or native bees are smaller. They're like this, teeny weeny, yeah, that's a better, they're like teeny weeny little things. They're the ones who were here when the Indians were here. But then the Europeans brought over their honeybees, and I mean, we love the honey. I don't actually know. I don't think most of the native bees make honey. Or if they do, it's just enough for them. But look outside and see how nature works. Don't spray pesticides. Don't spray nicotinoids because it kills all of the bugs. Don't use anything with nicotine in it. So exorcism, do your own pre-exorcism. Don't invite evil in. Don't allow a friend of yours who, like in college, the girls love to start little groups. Don't belong to anything you've got a bad feeling about. Don't belong to anything or even associate with people you know are up to something and it's not good. Don't go to a place where it feels kind of creepy. Turn around, walk out, or don't even go in. If you sense the creepiness, sometimes you're talking to your friends and then you open the door and you get inside and it's like, and you can't breathe. Turn around, walk out. Say, oh, I'm in the wrong place. Turn around, walk out. And don't let anybody come running after you. Say, no, I have to be somewhere else. Then I've got a doctor's appointment. Or I got a dentist, or I got to pick up flowers or something. Stay away from anything that does not feel right. If I had $1 for every kid I counseled who said, and I said, yes, and you knew that they were bad. Well, I had a feeling. And why did you go? Why would you stick your head in a lion's mouth? Why would you go swimming with crocodiles? I don't get humans. Anyway, you can do something which every single religion, and I don't mean except, I mean every religion, whether it's Aborigines in Australia, Native Americans all over the United States, Canada, South and North America, Whether it's Lutherans, Catholics, priests, Hindus, Buddhists, doesn't matter. Every single religion prays. Pray to God. Pray that your guardian angels have the strength to stay with you, and ask them to please further enlighten you so that you go on a better path. And meditate. All the religions I mentioned also have nuns and priests, men and women, who meditate. If you're driving in the car, just listen for a few seconds and don't follow me when I'm telling you. Sit up nice and straight, take your palms, open them comfortably on your lap, or this is one of my favorite postures. This was one of Buddha's, actually like this. And that means the heavens and the earth together, which I like. The Hindus and the Buddhists have different positions or mudras that you hold your fingers in. To me, that's annoying, but to other people, it's very comforting. So you do what's comfortable for you. Sit up nice and straight. Put your hands in a position that's comfortable for you. Off with the radios, off with the phone, off with the computer. If anybody has to reach you and they die, they're going to die anyway. You can't bring them back to life. You need time for you and God, just like when you're sleeping. Get all the ringing things out of the room, away from wherever you are. The only phone that rings in my house is in the kitchen, and I can't hear it unless I'm awake. Make it soundproof. Don't bother worrying about your dogs or your cats. My Gracie, my pussycat, sleeps right under the chair every night when I meditate. In fact, she sometimes sits herself in that position. I have to position the chair around her. Then she'll just look up and say, well, I've been waiting. So you're going to sit up straight. You're going to visualize above the nose, between the eyebrows. And you're going to visualize God's brilliant white light flowing down into the top of your head, all the way through your body, hitting the different chakra points, pineal gland, pituitary gland, throat chakra, thyroid and parathyroid, your heart chakra, your solar plexus, which is your seat of well-being. You've got your digestive systems in there, your pancreas, your liver is further down, the reproductive organs. And it goes down. There are actually 144 chakras in your body.
5 minutes.
Just think of 7 in your physical body that you can identify. If you can think of more, that's great, because they go up, they go down, they go out. Just visualize yourself being filled like a balloon with brilliant, unimaginable white light. And recite the word Om, which is where Amen comes from. Recite Om, which is a different vibration than Amen. But if you've ever been with a choir of spiritual people, whether they're nuns or Buddhists or Catholic, they say Amen. And sometimes you'll hear them say Amen. That's when they know what they're doing. And visualize yourself in this giant white light, thanking God for the blessings. Visualize every live thing in your house. Person, puppy, dog, pussycat, plant, everything in the house. So the house is glowing. Then the property is glowing. Then the neighborhood is glowing. And you feel every person you know and love glowing, and the entire state, and then the entire country, and the entire world. If you have to go continent by continent, ocean by ocean, however you have to do it, until you see yourself out in space looking at the earth, and it's glowing brilliantly, filled with God's light, as many times a day as you can do it. I even do it when I'm gardening outside. And I just see every plant shimmering. Every now and then, I will see the light around the plant. And it's actually like a shimmering light. Because plants understand the vibration of God, and they love to be blessed, and they love to have a companion with them. And they know that plants talk to each other, and they know that trees talk to each other, and they have a whole language of there's going to be danger, there's going to be some idiot with a chainsaw, somebody's coming to help us and water us. Plants understand more than most humans do. So by visualizing the entire planet of light, with light, God's light, you're creating brilliant energy. And you're blessing yourself and blessing everyone else you know. Not a bad way to start the day. Not a bad way to end the day. Or in the afternoon if you're gardening. Or if you're just sitting and looking outside. Even if you're inside, you're looking out a window, you're looking out a sliding glass door. What's interesting, I cannot tell you how many times the squirrels and the birds are quiet. They're sitting there and they're watching you. And they're enjoying the blessings as well. Because they also feel God's blessings. You don't have to let evil in. You don't have to let bad in. It's up to you. Stop watching these shows where everybody's looking to whack each other. No watching wrestling. No watching boxing. No watching violence. I don't like football. I used to like to watch baseball, but I got to tell you, it's really boring in person. Fill yourselves and your families and your planet with light. Just remember, if you open up your hearts and minds to God's universal truth, you are going to know that God and the angels are always with you. I'm Linda Bennett. Namaste.